Deep in the heart of Mile, Virginia, lies the fifth richest family in the world. Except, we barely know anything about them. This is the family behind some of the most iconic candy brands we all grew up eating as kids. Skittles, Three Musketeers, M&M's Milky Way Dove, Chocolate Lifesavers, Juicy Fruit, all these other ones. This one single family controls almost all the candy you see in your grocery store. But that's not all. They don't just feed humans, they also control all the terrible pet food on the market as well. Pedigree IMS and all these other brands only also happen to conveniently own the most veterinary clinics in the world as well, HM. The same family happens to both sell all the terrible pet food that gets pets sick, while also owning all the pet hospitals they end up going to. Interesting. More on this later. You most likely have some of their products in your house right now, which is why they make over $50 billion a year, to put that into perspective. If you combine the revenue of Airbnb, Lyft's own Burger King, and Taco Bell, it would still be less than half of what this family brought in. This family is bigger and more powerful than Coca-Cola. And here's the thing, you probably have heard of their name before, but you probably don't know anything about them. That's because this family has intentionally stayed very secretive. They never do interviews, they're never in the spotlight. You would never recognize them walking in the streets. The public knows practically nothing about them. This family has done everything in their power to fly under the radar. And for good reason. When you're actually poisoning the entire population of both humans and dogs with your food products, you would probably want to stay under the radar as well. So stay dangerous. Subscribe for more. And this is the truth about the Mars family. It's okay if you didn't know this about pet food or vets, because we sure didn't with our dogs, but from now on, you want to make sure you're only feeding them quality meat at home if you want them to live healthy and long. But if you don't have time to do that yourself, then you want to check out Sundays, today's sponsor. Sundays takes human-grade ingredients like USDA beef chicken, liver, egg, yolk, ground bone, and much more, with 90% of it being real meat and 10% being other natural foods. Then they air dry it to lock in nutrients and flavor, and then they ship it to your door with free 3-day shipping, and then you just feed it to your dog. No prep required. And because it's actual food, your dogs are gonna love it, just like my family dogs do. Sunday has thousands of positive reviews on independent places like Reddit because, you know, it's actual tasty food. And the best part is that you can get 50% off your order with code JAKETR. When you pause the video right now and click the link below. Sunday does contain sunflower oil in its beef recipe, which is not ideal. So I recommend their chicken and turkey recipes, which do not have sunflower oil. All the recipes also contain mixed TOA ferro, which is a natural form of vitamin E that acts as a preservative. It's considered much safer than the artificial preservatives found in most red dog food. Again, the best food you can give your dog will always be fresh organic meats, but if that's not practical for you, Sundays is the next best thing. So get 50% off your order with code JTR. With the link below. Now back to the video. Secrecy has always been a trademark of the Mars family, and that tradition all started with his patriarch, Franklin Mars, the founder of Mars Inc. before becoming the Candy King of America. Franklin had a really rough origin story. When he was just a young child, he was diagnosed with polio, and soon he was unable to walk or attend school, since he was going to be stuck at home all the time. His mother Elva decided to provide him with a different type of education in their family kitchen. She taught young Franklin the art of hand dipping, chocolate and candy making, and he was immediately hooked. Little did Elvin know that these little lessons would be the inspiration for one of America's biggest candy brands ever. By the time he was a teenager, Franklin recovered from his health issues and returned to high school. However, he knew that his body wouldn't be capable of doing a physically demanding job. So, if he wanted to make money, he would have to use his wits. So, after graduating from high school, he decided to take his childhood passion and turn it into a career by becoming a candy salesman. Because at least convincing people to buy candy wouldn't put a lot of strain on his body, but things weren't going to be simple, as he hoped other candy brands like Hershey's were already cornering the markets, and quickly his first attempt at breaking into the candy game failed. He tried again. This time, he tried making candy from his kitchen to sell, but once again he failed. This happened over and over again, until Franklin F. for bankruptcy 3 separate times and lost his house, all in just a few years. But he didn't give up. Thought him and his wife scraped together the last $400 to attempt to make a successful candy company. Once more, they were so poor by this point that they barely had enough to buy the ingredients. But this time was different. He created a buttercream candy cot, a Marrow bar, and it worked. People started buying, but it wasn't until 1923 that Franklin found his big payday. Knock, knock. Who's there? William. Who William ever use artificial ingredients in bars from Mars? Artificial, never artificial is a nasty word. At Mars, everything's for real. In bars from Mars. Milky Way bars, for instance, are made the Milky Way with gallons and gallons of fresh whole grade, a milk fluffy whites from fresh eggs, not powdered ones, and real milk chocolate. The world's finest. The Milky Way. A chewy nougat. And caramel fill candy coated in a thin layer of chocolates. The story goes that the idea for this revolutionary chocolate bar came up when Franklin was having milkshakes with a Forrest Mars, allegedly. Forrest said to his dad, "Why don't we try putting a milkshake in a candy bar?" end quotes, and the rest was history. It flew off the shelves. People were obsessed with the Milky Way bar by the end of the year. The Mars company earned $800,000 in profit, which is already insane on its own, but it's even crazier when you realize that that is over $14 million a day, if you account for inflation. The Milky Way bar had gone viral. Soon, they launched another iconic candy that would stand the test of time. Around 2:30, I really got the Hun Forrest. He was the business Mars, and he made it his mission to make Mars Inc. one of the most powerful companies in the world. From the beginning, Forrest was into making money in college. He made a deal with the campus cafeteria that he could keep any money he managed to save. On the food service, he ended up earning $100 a week, or over $1,800 today, and started being called the richest kid in Berkeley. But the truth was, he wasn't really interested in his dad's business. At first, he just didn't think. The CK. When Franklin Mars died from a heart attack at age 50, he left behind a $3 million fortune, or $54 million a day. And he also left behind one of the biggest candy companies on Earth. Now Mars needed a new leader, and Forrest was ready. But there was a problem. Their biggest competitor started dominating the US candy markets. Hairy, real milk chocolate. I love that. Hershey bar Hershey. That's something special no matter where you are, anytime you want. Delicious? There's no need to go look very far. Hershey's GT of love to make it. All tastes good. The milk chocolate melts in your mouth, not in your hand. And once again, it was a massive success. Even during World War II, when most businesses were tanking, Forrest used the war to his advantage. He pushed the candies to the US military, saying how the soldiers could have something sweet in the battlefield that wouldn't melt during transit or in warm climates. It blew up so much that Forrest decided to memorialize himself on each and every, and EM produced, that Amon and snacking. Empire Fortune magazine called him one of the century's most brilliant and successful entrepreneurs, and yet he intentionally kept his family completely anonymous to the public. But every Titan's time eventually comes, and when Forrest's time finally came, he wanted to make sure his kisses kept the empire growing. Music. Forrest had 3 kids to pass the billion-dollar family business to Forrest Jr., John, and Jacine, and he wanted to make sure that they were going to keep things running. Like he, Kardashian, and LeBron James together, it will still be less than 5% of how much wealth the Mars family has right now. They have 5 times more wealth than the GDP of Fiji. But none of you will recognize their faces. Both Forrest Jr. and John have done everything in their power to stay out of the public eye. If you Google Forrest Jr. Mars, there's only something like 12 pictures of him out there. They don't own big fancy properties or sports cars. They've just mastered the art of fading into the background, as St. Skittles and Lifesaver gummies are now under recall. Mars Wrigley says the candies could have a thin metal strand inside of them or loose in the bag.
Right now, there are no reports of any injuries, and we have the full list of effective products up right now on kdka.com. In 2017, they had to recall a few brands of their chocolates
after it was discovered that they probably had salmonella in them. Another time, they had to recall a bunch of their dog food because it was also contaminated with salmon. We aren't any natural ingredients that can get that bright. No, they have to use something called Yellow 6 or Sunset Yellow FCF. Because, an ingredient is going to be healthy for you when it's named a color with a number code. Alates, this is what gives candies like M&Ms and Skittles that vivid orange or yellow color that really catches the eye of kids and adults. Well, most of us read food labels. I know I do. We look at the calories and the fat grams and the protein. But there is something else in IME. Mars's revenue is rising. Could the rise and ADHD be correlated with the rise in ultra-processed foods like Mars? This Yellow 6 stuff is so bad that European countries require that products containing these food dyes come with a warning on the packaging, but may have an adverse effect on activity and attention on children, kind of like the Surgeon General's warning on cigarettes. What is the real issue at play here? Well, there's some newer research, and in fact, in Europe they now have Brunei, dog food brand, in the UK. Soon after the company started buying up cat food, companies to CIS have very specific nutritional needs. What do dogs respond to the taste of meat? He need the high quality protein found in meat. Cat love. Get more. With whiskers, the highest level of protein. Plenty of grain-inclusive foods can make your dog feel full, keep their teeth clean and breath fresh. This holiday season, with Greenie's dental treats, every single one of these brands is made by the Mars family. Jew Pets was perfect for producers like Mars because it lasted forever on the shelf, and it was super cheap. To make the best part was that they only needed to include the tiniest bit of meat in the recipe, and they could legally put that it was made with real beef or real chicken on the packaging, and the teeny percentage of meat that actually goes in there. Yeah, it's most likely made with animal byproducts. What is animal byproduct? You may ask. Animal byproduct is a delectable meal consisting of every the kind of food, like dry kibble, not all of it. I don't want to spare all of it, but a lot of dry kibble is just not good for them. What's in there is in there. Pet owners all over America have been duped into thinking that they're doing the responsible thing by feeding their pet certified pet food, when in reality they are slowly killing their furry friend while making the Mars family rich. The FDA issuing a warning letter to a dog food manufacturer after hundreds of pets fall ill or even died after eating OD commercials. Everywhere they feed their pets with it. Their pets get sick, they bring their pets into the Mars vets. The vet uses Mars vet supplies on their pets, and the vets have been trained to recommend specialty Mars pet food blends. It's a never-ending cycle of cash, but when one company or one family is in control of the entire veterinary industry, it means that they can pretty much do whatever they want, including neglecting animal care and doing anything possible to increase their profits more than ever. And it's not just animals that are suffering or dying to make Mars money, it's also music. Children making chocolate is more expensive than you think, especially when there's a huge candy empire like Mars that makes billions of units at a time. That's why they need to employ some creative solutions to bring down their costs, like using the cheapest labor possible. And what's cheaper than slavery? It turns out that Mars wasn't just using slaves to produce their coca, but child slaves in Ghana, said by Mars that she would be sent to school. However, they just gave her a backpack and some notebooks, and she never heard from Elle again. It's great for Mars because they can say that they're helping while still being able to turn blind eye to where the coca is actually coming from. Of course, the company swears that they're trying to end child labor in the supply chain and that they promise they'll stop using kids by 2025.
But the truth is that Mars can make as many hollow promises as this, as they were, or conducting warfare salt was so important that it led to the rise and downfall of empires, from the Greeks to the Revolutionary War to helping the Union win the American Civil War. The history of the world is incomplete without the story of salt, and we expose it all in this new video on this new channel called Salt and Pepper Economics that you can watch right now by clicking the card on the screen. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content.